Bogus just going to play more of a defensive Terran ball mass game, but at this stage I think he's economically behind because he did lose 3 SCVs. He did, yeah, you got a Reaver for it, but you lost 3 SCVs, and Guemchi's had that base for quite a while, and it looks pretty well saturated. Finally able to get in with some vultures, able to get, it looks like 3 kills, 4 kills, and this is what he needed to do actually, and it looks like he is going to drain that, but I wonder if it's enough, maybe a little bit too little too late, and Guemchi going for another base. He's going to go for 4 before there's even a third up for Bogus. Wow. And Bogus, yeah, you can see, let's see how aggressive he gets with this, and he really does need to get aggressive with this. Otherwise, he's just going to end up basically playing the Sauron Protoss, which I know it's the standard Zerg sort of thing, but basically Gwenchi is going for heavy infantry, just a big economy sort of game here. And I really feel like the key for Terran is actually to be aggressive, and it looks like he's going to be able to slip in. This is really risky, and I'm looking for the counterattacking vultures. Right there, as soon as those Dragoons were out of position, there should have been a vulture counterattack immediately to kind of pounce on that. It doesn't look like we're going to see it. Instead, Bogus playing a little bit safer, wants to get that science vessel, but keep in mind right now we're going to see probably 7-8 gateways, and he's running up against 2 factories comparatively. And granted that Gwenchi's not really in a position where he can start pressing. But the thing is with that Arbiter, he is going to have a pretty strong degree of map control. He's going to be able to defend that 6 o'clock. He's going to be able, looks like he's getting some cannons up there now, and he's really going to have an economy where he can stay really way ahead economically and basically pin Bogus back into his base, even though Bogus is going to have, it looks like that science vessel a little bit sooner. The dropship would have already been out already. An interesting wall there to the north. Kind of like that actually, providing some bit defense, and it looks like some vultures now moving out, but it just feels a little bit too little too late. And yeah, science vessel and a little bit more of a defensive posture, but really Guemchi's already economically ahead. Bogus is playing as though he's going to play an economically even game, as though he's going to stay ahead here, and it looks like the vulture's able to get a couple more kills, so a little bit of a bonus there, but still, what is that, 9 probe kills versus 3, and also with the additional base up, I don't think he's going to get a lot done with that comparatively. So Guemchi, I still think he has enough in the bank to kind of overcome this. That'll slow him down a little bit, but as soon as that Arbiter comes out, as long as he's kind of Johnny on the spot with the vultures out in the midfield, really I worry about what Bogus is going to be able to accomplish. And Bogus doesn't look like he's pumping out troop. He's still actually, I think, at 3 factories at this stage of the match. And Guemchi now actually kind of scouting out that top right-hand base. Vulture able to run up there, planting a mine, and the Vulture is like, oh, I'm going to get up there, get it accomplished. There's a nice pylon wall. It's not actually even a perfect pylon wall, but no Dragoons to really support, so it looks like there's a little bit of a hole there. And it looks like Guemchi's actually going to be able to keep up with the economic upgrades, and really the key at this stage of the game, I think, is once you have your Arbiters out, immediately switch to High Templar, and that's kind of, I think, the difference in the match is High Templar when you're going up against the big Terran ball. Level 1 weapons is already being upgraded, though, and I think Zealot speed is also there, so... But really, again, just because of the concavity of the map and the way things work, and because Bogus is playing a really turtle style, Guemchi is not going to be in a position to really press against this, at least not with without some recalls, without some stasis. But at the very least, yeah, he is going to be able to defend all of his holdings. He is going to be able to take some additional bases, and critically, he's going to be able to maintain this economic lead that he's already got, basically. So it looks like he's starting to wander out with a couple Zealots, maybe thinking about securing that 6 o'clock. Looks like he is thinking about, he's actually securing that top right now. But so right now, 4 bases versus 3, which isn't a full base ahead, really, Terran versus Protoss. It's not like, obviously, Terran versus Terran, where you're full base ahead. It's more like, I would even say half or even 3/4 a base ahead as far as the things work out. That's generally the place you want to be, but I don't think this is the place Bogus really wants to set him, and it looks like Bogus does have level 2 weapons. A little bit of a mistake there from Gwenchi running headlong into a mine, but let's see if Bogus goes out and decides to get aggressive now, because this might be the opportunity to do it, because I didn't see any High Templar actually out with any of these armies, and I think that there's an Arbiter out there. Should be an Arbiter, a second one on the way somewhere, but I don't know if there, I think that's what that white spot is wandering out in the middle of the map, but I don't know if there is also stasis behind it and enough stasis to stop a push at this stage. And again, Guemchi being very aggressive with the expanding. It looks like he's both staking out territory in the top right. Okay, it looks like there is 2 High Templar. Okay, and there's that Arbiter as well. That was that white dot that was moving out towards the middle. He should be able to take that top right and everything else. And he actually looks like he's catching some observers, just kind of with that. I think he went for that range, that sight range upgrade. Oh, picked off a science vessel. That was really nice, actually. I think he went for the sight range upgrade, and he's kind of using a little bit of that coverage with just catching the corner of this army as well when Bogus is moving out, and he's able to stop him pretty well. It looks like Bogus is thinking about taking another base at that 1 o'clock, and he's finally moving out with a fairly substantial army. But again, I think Guemchi's just going to have so many forces, you're going to be able to do it. And he's leading a little bit too far ahead with that science vessel looking for a stasis. Sieging up right there. And actually, I'm wondering where Guemchi's army is. Never mind. I think Guemchi went for 2 quick bases. He went for another expansion in the top right as well as the 6 o'clock. So he's missing a lot of zealots that would be in this army otherwise. And he needs to... he cannot have those High Templar exposed. Really wanted to save those for a big storm across the tanks. And Guemchi might be in a little bit of trouble here unless he can... Okay, he does have a second arbiter, but without some good stasis or something else, he's definitely going to lose that expansion in the top right. Losing a second High Templar, which is devastating, and just does not have a lot of High Templar in this army. And otherwise, maybe I don't know, a defensive recall, maybe a pincer attack with a defensive recall, he might be able to accomplish something. Looks like Bogus already starting to move out towards that 1 o'clock. Try to establish that for himself now that he's kind of moved that position forward. But it looks like, and that seems to be all that Bogus was concerned about. But he's also opened up an attack lane that top right, and so I don't think that he's going to stand for that. And Bogus overextending a little bit, actually, because going for another try to contain at this 9 o'clock to establish that base. I think this is actually going to pay out for him because it looks like Guemchi is 1 going uphill and 2 not dealing with a very large army to try to press against this. Now he's moving forward, getting aggressive, going to try to attack that 3 o'clock. Almost lost his science vessel, and he's got a pretty big attack force. But a recall to the 1 o'clock, he's going to be able to stop that short, but I think it's going to be a base trade because Bogus is just really going to be able to roll that, and I think with the reinforcements he has, he should be able to slot right back around and stop that 12 o'clock. But between that, that's still going to work out in Guemchi's favor as long as Bogus is pretty delayed in taking it. That was a really big risk, as long as Bogus is pretty delayed in taking that 9 o'clock, because keep in mind, Guemchi was at a lot of bases here. He's not mining out of that top right base, but he evacuated a lot of his probes, and that was absolutely critical. So that 3 o'clock base, even though he's losing some cannons and he is losing a nexus, he's not really losing his base economy. He's able to immediately replenish a base that basically wasn't already mining. And wow, beautiful from Guemchi, able to run up to the 12 o'clock now and get some kills there as well. And finally some siege tanks going up, but able to get a couple SCVs here and there. So really going to the bonus. I don't know that he has enough to defend. Another huge recall. And actually, I think Bogus can now roll over that 3 o'clock, rely on that 9 o'clock as his third base. If he just evacuates... he's not evacuating his SCVs, though, critically here. And so it looks like he's going to be able to take out a couple bases. And Guemchi immediately taking another expansion, that bottom left, playing a very aggressive expansion game. There's some nice Psy Storm to really kind of mix this up. And Guemchi playing a very interesting positional game. He's happy to sacrifice as long as he's doing base trading and as long as he's kind of keeping these outlying expansions up. And again, he's almost playing like a Sauron sacrificial Zerg out there. He's like, okay, you can go ahead and take my base, but I'm going to recall on top of you someplace else, and then just immediately be able to expand past that. Maybe he'll be able to wipe this army out in the field because I'm not seeing any science vessels as well to kind of support. And I don't know that there's a lot of ComSat in the ground to deal with this army otherwise. And that looks like that 1 o'clock base really exposed. Still 2 arbiters in that top right. And critically, Guemchi also hasn't lost any of his arbiters in any of these recalls. He's kept them alive every single time. And it looks like Bogus now going to back off. He's going to try to reestablish that 1 o'clock with the command center. I don't even know where that command center came from, honestly. I think he built it out in the field trying to take that 3 as he was moving in there. But Guemchi absolutely rolling. Okay, he's at, 1, 2, 3, 4 bases. He's still at 4 bases versus 3, and one of them's not very well saturated. It looks like, and that was a huge Psystorm bait. Really softening all those tanks up. Yeah, he lost his army there, but he really accomplished a lot with that Psystorm, I think. And yeah, that 9 o'clock actually wasn't saturated this entire time, so it was 4 saturated bases and finally up to 3. So it was basically 2 bases versus 4. And keep in mind that main is getting extremely thin for Bogus at this stage. It's also going to be getting thin on the opposite end. But really, yeah, without actually a lot of territory to cover, it could be dangerous otherwise. Another recall to the 12 o'clock, and another command center is going to be taken down. Let's see if there's this, actually might lose an arbiter. No, the arbiter is going to escape, and they're going to get the command center on top of it. So for just a handful of dragoons taking out a command center, a beautiful exchange. And I think there might be some recall left in that arbiter coming across to get into that 12 o'clock. So